You are listening to Small Business Straight Talk with your host, Amber De La Garza. Amber is a sought-after coach, trainer, speaker, and writer who gives small business owners the straight talk on productivity, time management, business systems, leading your teams, strategic decision-making, and mindset. No BS, fluff, or overused jargon. Just actionable strategies to get results and succeed in business. And here is your host, Amber De La Garza, the productivity specialist.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. Today is episode 329, Eliminating the Beliefs Sabotaging Your Growth with Shelly Lefkoe. If you're a small business owner who wants to learn effective business strategies, improve time management, and elevate productivity to maximize profit, reduce stress, and make time for what matters most, then you're in the right place, and I'm so glad you've joined me. I'm looking forward to this conversation and you meeting our guest, Shelly Lefkoe. Shelly is the co-founder of Lefkoe Institute, a San Francisco Bay Area firm whose mission is to significantly improve the quality of life on the planet. Shelly has helped thousands of clients worldwide recreate their lives by ridding themselves of a wide variety of problems, including phobias, relationships that never seem to work, violence, procrastination, unwillingness to confront people, health and wellness issues, and sexual dysfunction. Her clients have eliminated emotional patterns such as fear, hostility, shyness, anxiety, depression, worry about what other people think of them, and a negative sense of themselves. Her programs have reached over 150,000 people worldwide. Her work has been featured on The Today Show, Lisa, and many other media outlets. Shelly is an international keynote speaker and workshop leader. Self-sabotaging thoughts and beliefs are rampant for all of us, but especially for us business owners who are always pushing ourselves to the next level, outside of our comfort zone, putting ourselves in new situations, challenging ourselves. And that's why I wanted to bring Shelly in to hear what she had to say about our self-sabotaging beliefs. I would like to invite you to take my Next Level Business Owner quiz. In 3 short minutes, you can uncover what is most holding you back from taking your business to the next level. Once you discover what's most holding you back, you'll receive a personalized playlist specifically with solutions and resources for those specific challenges that you can implement in your business right away. What is more productive than taking 3 minutes to find out what's most challenging you and get access to the solutions? Head on over to amberdelagarza.com/quiz to take the quiz today. And now, let's meet our guest and get to the straight talk. Welcome to the show, Shelly. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. So I'm really actually looking forward to this conversation. It is a huge challenge. But before we get into our topic, why are you obsessed with mindset? Like, why is this your expertise and area?
Love that. Thank you, Amber. So about 33 years ago, my late husband was on what he called a spiritual intellectual journey to find out why people know what to do or know what not to do and still do it or don't do it. So everyone knows that if you eat healthily and you exercise, you'll live longer and feel better. And yet we don't do it. You know, some of us go into a relationship knowing this is not good situation, and we go in anyway. And he was fascinated because he was a consultant on a spiritual journey, and he would advise these huge companies what to do. And they would say, this was great, pay him a lot of money and say, oh, we're so happy. And 6 months later, he would check in and nothing changed. And he called other consulting firms and they said, if you quote us, we'll deny it, but we have the same experience. So he was on a plane going to California, and he downloaded what he calls downloaded this process, and he came up with the philosophy. Now, this today is common knowledge. 30 years ago, no one knew what he was talking about. It's our beliefs, most of which are unconscious, that totally determine our behavior, our emotions, and ultimately our reality. So I'm going to talk to small business owners about things that they care about, like procrastination, like not putting videos on social media, like not moving forward in a way, or being afraid to make a mistake or fail, which as entrepreneurs is a kiss of death. And so at the end of this flight, he had created a process that has now changed. I want to say hundreds of thousands of lives have been impacted by this work. Basically, our beliefs. Now I'm going to tell you what I mean when I say a belief. So a belief is a statement about reality that we hold as the truth.
That is the most succinct way I've ever heard anybody explain it. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. And I thank you for saying that, because most people talk about beliefs and they write patterns. And a pattern is observable. So I can see you procrastinate. I can see you have a fear of public speaking. I can see you not speak up for yourself. I can see you be quiet in meetings. I can see you not expressing yourself. I can see you withdrawing. Beliefs, as we'll talk about later, are not observable. That's the difference.
Yeah, when I think about it, it's like the fish that doesn't know it's in water, right? It just is. It's not questioned often.
Exactly.
Okay, good. All right.
I want to go back to my origin story. He came home. We had a friend who said that she wanted to get married again. She was divorced. And he did the process with her, and he asked her, what do you believe about marriage? And she went, well, marriage is suffocating, and you have to give up your independence, and you can't be who you are. And and then he said, what do you believe about men? And she said, as most women I work with are known to say, men are selfish. They're assholes. Men only care about one thing. Men are dominating. And I was sitting there, and he said, okay, we're going to pick one belief, and we're going to get rid of it. And he picks a belief, eliminates the belief with her. And Amber, it was like, I almost cry every time I tell the story. It was like a bolt of lightning hit me, like spirit slapped me on the side of the head and said, this is why you're on this planet.
Wow. Because it can be life-changing. You just gave an example of relationship and love, but we're talking business, we're talking health. This is the underlying. So I am curious, where do our beliefs come from? Like, is it always like a childhood thing? Do we create new beliefs and not know it as adults? Where do these beliefs start accumulating?
Great. So we come in, so core beliefs, self-esteem beliefs, first 6 to 8 years, and our parents. So whatever happens in school can cement it or make it, but self-esteem beliefs come from our parents, and this is how they get formed. Every child, so I have clients now in Uganda. I have 2 clients in Saudi Arabia, which blows my mind. And I ask them, when you're do you have kids?
Yes, I have a son.
Little.
13.
Oh, you look very young. So do you remember when he was little and you would come home at the end of the day and he hadn't seen you? What would he do when he saw you?
Always happy to see me.
Well, when he was 3 or 4, what would he do when you walked in the door?
Probably hug me.
So he would run to you.
Yeah.
He'd run and he'd, mommy, mommy. And every child alive wants 3 things: affection, attention, and acknowledgement. Now, what is the one word question that every little child asks all day long?
Why?
Why? So I ask people who don't have kids that question, and they know the answer. So here's how beliefs get formed. You come into this world, you don't know if you're good enough or not good enough. You don't know if you're important or not, lovable or not. You don't know if life is hard or easy. You don't know if working for a company is secure and being an entrepreneur is not. You don't know anything, right? You don't know if money is scarce and hard to get or flows with great abundance. So what happens is you get criticized by your parents or yelled at. And the kid says, why? Why can't I live up to my parents' expectations? Oh, I see. I'm not good enough. So for those of you who are looking at your iPhone or your smartphone when your kid is talking to you, they are seeing, I'm not important, right? So if your parents are not present, your child will probably conclude, I'm not important. If your parents were, struggling to make a living and they complained about it and were scared, you're probably going to conclude money is scarce and hard to get. And because it feels like we're seeing these beliefs in the world, they stay with us for our entire lives because it's impossible to not believe something you think you saw. So if I said to your audience, doesn't it seem like you saw I'm not good enough as a child? They'd say, well, I did see it. That's how beliefs get formed.
It's so fascinating. I think about siblings, right? They could be raised in a very similar household, have financial struggles, and one person could see what the stress is doing to the parents and interpret that. And now they have a negative belief about money. And maybe it's the youngest kid that was oblivious to the stress that it caused when dad lost his job. And so while they were in the same circumstance, they didn't see, quote unquote, see the same thing. Therefore, they didn't end up with the same belief.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said that this starts way back, from early childhood. Is it true that beliefs are always being written? We're always seeing things, interpreting them, and creating a belief?
Kind of. We're always making assessments. So a little later, I'm going to talk about meaning. So beliefs come from giving events meaning, and then meaning comes from the beliefs that you form. So in other words, if your parents criticize you, so the most common belief that people have is I'm not good enough. And I'm going to talk about how that manifests. And I love talking to entrepreneurs because I just wrote a book, which of course I left in the other room, called Hitting the Wall, Eliminate the Beliefs That Sabotage Your Business and Your Life. And it's about the beliefs specifically the beliefs that entrepreneurs have. So your parents criticize you and you give it the meaning, I must not be good enough. And they do it again. And then you start believing it's true because you now think you saw that you're not good enough, right?
Okay.
Now, somebody looks at you quizzically while you're speaking, and you give it the meaning, oh God, they don't understand me. I'm stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. So the meanings that you give come from the beliefs that you have. Now, the meanings that you give determine your feelings.
Okay. So I believe that. I use a different terminology, the stories we tell, right? We're very creative in our stories, but our stories are narrated by our beliefs, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the meaning is so again, I'm very specific in my definitions. So when I say meaning, the meaning that you give events, anything that happens. Another way of saying that is, what do I know for sure because that happened? So I always use the example because I love it. My husband died. That was devastating to me. But it doesn't mean I'll never be happy again, or I'll never love again, or I'm going to starve to death. My story is I didn't know the difference, you guys. Listen, I didn't know the difference between a P&L and a balance sheet. If you said to me, want to run a business? I'd say, well, either that or you could shoot me in the head. It was I am a people person. Okay.
Yeah.
Put me in front of 1,000 people, I'm very happy. Put me one-on-one with Oprah, I'm good. Run a business, shoot me in the head. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have any interest in it. My husband died, and financially, the business, he was a philanthropist. He was a researcher. Like, we did research studies to prove the efficacy of our work. He wanted to make a difference in the world. So he did not leave me with a financially flourishing business. And I had to step up. And it's because of the work that I did in getting rid of beliefs like I'm not capable and I don't have what it takes from school. I'm not good enough. Mistakes and failures are bad. If I make a mistake, I'll be rejected. So those are the most common beliefs that people have. And I'll tell you them again in a minute. And so I just asked friends for help. Rodney, who works for me, stepped up, and we were in the middle of a course. People paid a lot of money for a year with Morty, and I had to take it over. We were in the middle of our occurring course, and Rodney and I jumped in, and now we've led 29 of them. And now my business is at least triple what it was. So that's when I say your beliefs will stop you from doing that which you're afraid to do, that which you don't feel qualified to do. You have a freedom.
Yeah. So in that experience, what you had as a benefit was that you didn't just say, oh, I need to hire somebody. I need someone else to fix this. I need to X, Y, and Z. You knew that it was a belief that had to be worked on first, and everything else would come after that. You had confidence.
Yeah. And I couldn't afford to hire people at the time, you know? Yes. And a lot of, very, very often, Amber, people will say it was a belief. Rarely is it a belief. So let's take something that probably a lot of your listeners can relate to. Fear of public speaking. So fear of public speaking is the only pattern that has the same beliefs for everybody. My client in Dubai has the same beliefs as my client in New Zealand, as my client in New Jersey. The beliefs are, I'm not good enough. I'm not important. Mistakes, and this is also, by the way, if you're listening, for procrastination. I'm not good enough. I'm not important. Mistakes and failures are bad. And even if you've read every business book that tells you no, if you want to know if you still have the belief, even though you know it's not true, ask yourself this question. Answer this question. When you make a mistake or fail, do you say to yourself, way to go, that was a good learning opportunity? Or do you beat yourself up? And if you beat yourself up, you still have the belief. Okay? If I make a mistake or fail, I will be rejected.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not capable. I'm not competent. Now, this is the belief that I say underlies most of your problems. One of the main ran my life for most of my life until I got rid of it. And it's the thing that made me who I am. I am authentic me. So if I'm on your podcast or Mark Hyman's podcast or Jim Quick's podcast, doesn't matter. This is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what makes me good enough is having other people think well of me. What makes me good enough is having other people think well of me.
Is that your belief? Or you're
Yes.
saying that is, okay.
That's the belief
Okay.
that runs people's lives. So if you're worried about what people think, you can't be authentic. You can't get up in front of 600 people and just be yourself.
Because you don't know what all those 600 people want to be able to move and shift into it. Right.
That's right. So that's one belief. And then another one is what makes me good enough is is achieving things. So that's the workaholic belief, right? I'm not good enough. I'm not important. And if you're listening and you think you don't have those beliefs, take a deep breath. Say out loud, I'm not good enough. Now say, I'm a monkey. So when you said I'm a monkey, that either felt silly or it felt flat, right? When you said I'm not good enough, how did it feel?
Familiar.
And if it felt either familiar or not good to say,
right?
Sometimes every once in a while, somebody will say to me, well, it didn't feel good because I don't believe it. If you didn't believe it, it would feel like what it is, just words.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel good because the belief is there. So now we have, I'm not good enough or I'm not important. I call this a beach ball. When we're adolescents, we form what we call survival strategy beliefs. So if you get acknowledged for getting an A or scoring a goal, you conclude, what makes me good enough are my achievements. Unfortunately, it doesn't work. So what happens is, as long as you're achieving things, this beach ball called I'm not good enough stays underwater, right? I got promoted. Oh, now I'm the CEO. Oh, now I'm the president of the company. Oh, it doesn't matter. You still have to hold this ball underwater. And it keeps coming up every time you stop working. So you work all the time because you have to do it again and again. I had a client once, and this is in my book, who called me and he said, Shelly, I'm worth $10 million. I'm on the cover of business publications. I don't know my kids, and my second wife's ready to divorce me. I keep swearing I'm going to come home. I'm going to go to their games. I'm going to go to their plays. I never make it. Help me. When is it going to be enough? I said, never, because your achievements don't make you good enough.
Even though that's what he said he wanted, it wasn't enough to change the behavior. So he wanted to be home with his wife. He wanted children. The desire was there, but the actions and the desire were not in sync with each other, correct?
And that's always true with beliefs. People always say, oh, that guy's such a jerk. He cheats on his wife. Guess he doesn't love her. I have had men call me and say, Shelly, I'm cheating on my wife. I love my wife. I don't want to cheat. Please help me. And they have beliefs. What makes me good enough, here's their survival strategy, is being wanted by a woman. Because their mothers were never home, or their mothers were withdrawn or depressed, but they didn't get that. So the first time a woman wanted them, they felt good. They felt good enough or lovable for the first time. And so now they have to do it again and again. And survival strategies are heroin addictions because they don't work. You have to keep doing them, right? So yes, you can act very good, Amber. You can act inconsistently with what you want. I want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. I'll do anything to lose weight. Oh, there's a cookie.
So I wanted you to get back to, and you said you would, the common beliefs that hold back small business owners. And I know you went through a lot of them for the speaking. I'm assuming they're very similar in showing up in small business owners as well.
I'll tell you, yes. I'll tell you one great story. I had a client who was corporate. And for those who are listening who want to start a business and don't, I'm sure you have some of those. His father told him working for a company is safe. Having your own business is not. And he saw his father go out of business, I think, twice. And so he called me and he said, I just have talked about this for so long, I can't take it anymore. So he got rid of the belief that having a corporate job is safe and being an entrepreneur is not, which is absolutely not true, right? That people who get laid off from corporations every day. So he gets rid of that belief and a few others, which I'll tell you in a minute. And 10 years later, he called me probably a year ago. And he said, my business is worth $40 million and I want to buy out my partner and I feel stuck. So that's what we worked on. So the most common beliefs for entrepreneurs, if I make a mistake, my business will go under. Let me talk about the patterns.
Yeah.
The patterns are not delegating. The patterns are, so doing everything yourself. The patterns are being afraid to invest in your business. Patterns are working too much. Some of the beliefs that entrepreneurs have are you have to work hard to be successful. I have a product called Natural Confidence, which is 19 self-esteem beliefs that you do on a video. You have to work with me, just go, very inexpensive. I make money in my sleep. I wake up in the morning and go, how many did we sell last night? So you don't have to work hard. I play pickleball in the morning. I play pickleball at night. I see friends at night. I do not work weekends. I do not work nights. And I have a very wonderful business. So you do not have to work hard to be successful. But if you have that belief, listening to me say that is not going to make a difference. Okay?
Yeah.
What else? So procrastination, being afraid to spend, overspending, putting everything, mortgaging your house and putting that in your business. Okay. I want to talk about watering all the plants in a minute. So remind me. Okay. So the beliefs that entrepreneurs have that mostly cause the problems are the same ones, as you insightfully said, a fear of public speaking. It's mistakes and failures are bad. And if I make a mistake, I'll be rejected. Those two beliefs are business killers because you can't be innovative without failing, and you can't fail if you have these beliefs.
Yeah, you're speaking to patterns, and I just want to add a couple that I've observed. When you have those beliefs, decision making is incredibly difficult. It's paralyzing because really all you're asking yourself is, if I make the wrong decision, am I going to fail? And so you can't get out of that loop because that's your underlying belief. The other pattern that I also see too is kind of that heroism you said, like the beach ball. And I see it in firefighting, putting fires out. Always there's a problem, always something that you can fix. And that's literally consuming your days and your weeks. And if I ask a client, it just is, that's what has to happen. But what I often find is that's where they're getting their identity from. They're getting their feel good from. They're consistently. And so it doesn't matter what time management strategy I give. It doesn't matter that they understand that they don't need to be the one, but it's a vicious pattern. And okay, I just want to connect the dots. Okay.
So the only thing I'll add, I'm not going to add, I'm just going to illuminate what you said. So the belief is what makes me good enough or what makes me something is fixing things, is solving problems, because that's what you got acknowledged for at some point in your life, right?
Yeah.
And you asked me earlier, yes, we're always concluding things, but our basic beliefs get formed either in our first job, our first relationship, rarely. If there's a crisis, in your adult life, you might conclude something. If your partner screws you, you might conclude partnership is dangerous, partnerships don't work, and then you can't have a partner. See, the thing about beliefs that's so powerful, and then I want to go back to what you just illuminated because it was so good. Beliefs are a box. So inside the box, trusting people is not a possibility. Doing everything yourself, that's a possibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having a lot of close friends, not a possibility. That's outside the box. So when we eliminate beliefs, we get rid of the box. Now you have a choice. Should I trust this person or shouldn't I? Doesn't mean you should trust everybody, but you have a choice now. So when it comes to fixing things or solving problems, it also could be that you have beliefs that you know you're good at that. But if you're not busy fixing things and solving problems, then you have to go do the things that you don't want to do, that you're afraid to do, that you don't feel so confident with. That's what a survival strategy belief is. If you have beliefs about conflict, you will not confront your employees and you'll let them do whatever they do.
Absolutely.
And 57 warnings or not say anything at all, or, please don't do that again. But at some point, that's going to hurt your business. You've got to be willing to have conflict. But if you have a belief from childhood that conflict is dangerous, or if I open my mouth, I'll get into trouble. And again, you're listening, thinking, oh, I don't have those beliefs. But if you do this work, if you get natural confidence or you work with me, whatever you do, you will see. You want to know what your beliefs are? Look at your behavior.
Because it's a result of your beliefs. I wonder, I have a question. It seems like it's really like common sense connected, right? Like if you have a belief about money, that's going to show up as money in your future. Is there gray in the sense that they're like more like limiting beliefs? Meaning it's not a belief that's getting in the way to 500,000, but somewhere along the line, 500,000 and over seemed impossible. And now it kind of is causing trouble. How do you describe that, or what is that, where it's not money or not money? It's like a certain level that you perceive to be, okay, I can do this, but I can't do that.
Yeah, it's the same. It's what do you believe that has you, like I just worked with somebody this morning whose pattern was every time he gets to a certain level of success, he gets scared and stops, or he'll do something to sabotage it.
Yeah.
And his belief, and I always thought that people were never afraid of success. They were just afraid that they would fail once they had the success. And then one day I had a client who said, successful people have to lie, steal, they're not good people. There are beliefs about having a lot of money. Catholic beliefs, I call them, money is the root of all evil, which is not what was said. It was the love of money is the root of all evil, not money. But people don't know that. And they're taught, money is bad, or people with money are this or that. If you grow up in a house, I had a client who lived in a wealthy neighborhood, but they didn't have money. And his mother always used to walk around going, oh, they all think they're better than us, and they all blah, blah, blah. And so people with money think they're better than everybody else. And he didn't want to become one of those people. So he just sabotaged himself.
I think that's really common, actually. And I have my own experience with that. When I started seeing a pattern of consistently hitting the same revenue numbers, I knew that there was something underlying. It wasn't the way in which I was operating or my team. I was really clear that this wasn't an accident, that this had to have been what I would call the common denominator, which was my own beliefs. And for me, my belief at the time was that if my business reached a certain success, that I would have to sacrifice my marriage. And I love my husband. And so to me, I was doing the thing, prioritizing my husband until I uncovered that belief. And I had to get really clear and do the work that it wasn't either or, but how can I believe that it was an and?
Brilliant. And I had a client who had the exact same thing. If I'm successful, I have to sacrifice my life or my marriage. Now, I want to go back to this, brings me to my next topic, which is really, really important, everyone. Most people, and I really appreciate you, Amber, we're definitely on the same wavelength there. Most people graduate school, somebody offers them a job, they take it, and they stay for as long as they stay, right? It's a little changing. That is changing a little with the times, but that's the way it always was. You go on a date, you have a great time. Go on another date, you have a great time. Then you have sex, and the sex is great. Next thing you know, you're in a relationship. But you never stopped and asked yourself, what kind of person do I want in my life? What kind of partner do I want? What are my values? Like, I will not be with anybody who's not open to personal growth, not interested, right? I want somebody who's loving, who's easy, who's has integrity. This is, of course, my husband. So you're intentional about your relationships. You're intentional about your business. What do you want your business to reflect? What do you want your business to be like? You are the CEO of your business, and your culture is going to be a reflection of you. When I walk into a company and I see people fighting and being shitty, and I know that's coming from somehow the top.
Top down. Mm-hmm.
Down. So we have to water all of our plants. So if you had a bouquet, if you had plants all over your house, right?
I do, but I can imagine that.
Yeah. You would never water just one.
Yeah.
And yet, small business owners, maybe you're watering your career plant to the detriment of your relationship with your partner, or to the detriment of your relationship with your kids, or to the detriment of your own health because you're not taking care, of your body. When I hear people tell me they work 60-hour weeks, I'm like, are you kidding me? There is nothing in life that would make me work 60 hours a day. Just not even, because I value I don't work nights, I don't work weekends, because, and again, I don't mean never, if I'm doing a talk on a Saturday, that might happen.
Yeah.
But I don't have sessions, I don't work, right? So your health is important. Having hobbies, friends. When my husband died, you guys, my friends were my saviors. 5 years after he died, I had a car accident. And I was in a facility for 6 weeks. I never ate the food in the facility.
Because you invested in those relationships and they invested back in you.
And your friends, I am telling you, there is nothing on this earth like friends. Okay. So your friends, your hobbies, your relationships with your family, your kids, yourself, self-care, right? What beliefs do you have that would have you not watering? And I don't mean every plant is going to be, the most gorgeous rose in the bunch. Some of them will be a little saggy, and some of them will be a little more leaning to the right. You can't water every single plant so that it's, flourishing. And they could be healthy. And some of you are the opposite. Some of you aren't watering your business plant. You're watering other plants. And that would have been me. I would rather be with my friends or play pickleball than work on my business. So, and then you have to get to what your balance is.
Yeah.
And you have to have an up with which I will not put. Right?
Just to kind of paraphrase what you're saying and what I've seen is that business owners normalize the 60 hours, or their belief is that, well, you mentioned it earlier, that you have to work hard to succeed. And so long as that is your belief, you are going to create that all around you. But the sad part is you don't even question it because you've normalized it.
That's
And
right.
I think, Shelly, what you're inviting us to do is start to question these beliefs, because you're giving us examples of patterns so we can go back and say, is this a belief, right? I could still be stuck at a certain revenue if I kept fixing everything else and not really had gotten to the belief. I would have worn myself out fixing things that didn't need to be fixed because that wasn't the real problem. So the invitation here is to ask different questions, to question what you've normalized so that you can find out what belief might be contributing to your reality.
Very good. And step one is acknowledging that you have the belief. And then, I'm going to give you an opportunity to go to something that's a free, to eliminate a belief free. And you can plug in any belief. We're going to work on the ones that are there. But you can plug in any belief and start to see how to eliminate those beliefs. Because in my experience, go out on a limb here, telling yourself, oh, I know that's not true, and trying to talk yourself out of it is not generally effective. But when you go back to where the belief was formed and you look at other ways to have interpreted the events, so the fact that I didn't live up to my parents' expectations could have meant that my parents had ridiculous expectations of a child. Parents expect children to sit still, and children don't sit still. Parents expect children to get straight A's. And I say to parents, do you excel at everything? And they say, no. I said, but do you expect your kid to? Oh.
Interesting, right? I have to just speak to my own experience with this. And I think that sometimes we avoid looking at the beliefs because then we have to take ownership of our current situation, relationship, our health, our life. And for me, getting to the other side, I actually found it incredibly empowering to know that it wasn't everything else or everybody else or all of these external circumstances that I can't change. So it was a hard truth, but the truth led me to then I get to change my reality. I get to change my belief and then change what is happening for me. And, I get tested on that all the time. There may be an area of my life I'm like, absolutely, I'm responsible for these outcomes. And then I look at another area and I'm like, of course not. That just happened to me. But I can catch myself because I've worked through that same process in different areas. And I just keep coming back to it's hard. I believe that see right there. I believe that it's worthwhile work. I'm catching my words. But on the other side, I've seen such a benefit, and it's empowering.
I love that, Amber, because I just love that. I just want to let it sit for a second with people. Here's why I love what you just said. For me, and I know for all of you, there is nothing worse than feeling powerless. And if it's them, you have no power.
Mm-hmm.
If it's the circumstances, you have no power. But if it's you, if it's your beliefs, you can get rid of those, and then you have the power to change the circumstances. And that's freedom. That's not living as a victim.
Yes. I think that's a great place to end. I mean, if there was not a better reason to explore this. So you are going to share with us where the audience can get a resource that will help them uncover their beliefs and rework their beliefs. I don't know what word you use.
Eliminate.
Eliminate. Okay, that's a powerful word. I love it. All right.
Eliminate.
So
and I You know me now. I use my words very carefully.
Yes, you do. I did not want to put my words in your mouth. So yes. So to identify and eliminate the beliefs. And where can they get that?
Right. And then I want to give them something, if that's okay. Just
yes, absolutely.
Quick tool, but I know in a couple of minutes.
We have time. Go right for it.
So the link is eliminatebeliefs.com. And there's 3 of the most common beliefs that you can eliminate. Okay. Now, I want to say something. Most of your heads are going to go like, but this is a usable tool, right? So you can't sit down and go, not you can't. I don't know how to teach you how to eliminate a belief at your desk, but I do know how to give you a tool that can change your life. If somebody walks into a room and doesn't say hello to you, that you know, what might you automatically think?
They're mad at me.
They're mad at me. So anything that each of you said, they didn't see me, they're rude, they don't like me, I did something wrong, those are all meanings. They're mad at me, meanings. Where did that meaning come from?
I can answer you mine, but
What?
I thought you meant, I was going to answer, but I was going to answer like what circumstance in my life created that initial thought.
No,
but you're saying
no.
your head.
Yes.
Okay.
Good. Yes. All meaning comes from your head, your mind. They don't like me. They're going to fire me. They don't want to work here. I'm going to lose money this year. All meanings are in your head. So if meaning is in your head, in your mind, do events have inherent meaning? So
I'm assuming they can have as many meanings as creatively you're coming up with.
But inherent means the meaning is in the event.
Right. No.
Events have no meaning.
Right.
None. The Holocaust, getting married, having babies. Now, it's not that it doesn't matter. My husband died, that mattered. But it doesn't mean anything. We don't know anything for sure because something happens. That's what no meaning implies. So if you have a baby, that doesn't mean you're going to love the baby or it's going to be a good baby or a bad, whatever that is. It doesn't mean it's going to cry. It doesn't mean it's going to be difficult. It doesn't have meaning. You get married. It doesn't mean you're going to stay together. It doesn't mean you're going to live happily ever after. It doesn't mean you're not. Event, we don't know anything for sure because something happens. Now, here's what I want to give you. All of your pain and suffering comes from the meaning you give events. So here's the tool. Anytime you have a negative emotion, and by negative emotion, I mean an emotion you don't want. I don't know about you. I don't want to be sad or unhappy or
disappointed, frustrated,
or fear, anxious, frustrated. I don't want to feel that. I'll feel it, and then I don't want to feel it anymore. So here's what you do. I'm going to give you 2 quick ways to do it. 1, what happened? Amber canceled the podcast. What meaning did I give it? She wasn't interested in what I had to say. What else could it mean? Well, it could mean that she had something come up that was an emergency and she'll have me back. But the fact that she did it has no inherent meaning. I was on one of the top 0.1% podcasts, Doctor's Pharmacy with Mark Hyman. Opportunity of a lifetime. I got a bazillion clients out of it. It was amazing. He sends me a text after the pipe. And he shared about his work with me and, personal things. And it just couldn't have been better. And he sends me a text saying, I don't think it got recorded. He was in a hotel. He wasn't at his usual place. And I started to go under and I went, okay, what meaning does it have? What meaning am I giving it? This is terrible. I'll never, blah, blah, blah. Okay, what else could it mean? You come up with one other possible meaning. Could mean it's going to be better next time. But what is the inherent meaning? Nothing. And of course, he texted me, he got it, it was fine, and it all turned out. So the other way is just get the meanings in your mind, not in the events.
Yeah.
So
So if you come up with one alternative that could just as well be true, then it's possible neither are true.
And it's, yes. And it's the meaning is in your mind, because even if it happens, that has no meaning. Oh God, I'm going to have you look at your numbers and you go, I'm going to have a bad quarter. I'm going to have a bad year. You go, well, it could mean that, but it could mean that you're going to come up with a great idea and it's going to be the best year you ever had. But the fact that your numbers are your numbers has no meaning. Now, that doesn't mean you should ignore them. Doesn't mean you shouldn't have a strategy, but it doesn't mean anything. And if you make the strategy from a place of, it's not going to be as effective as if you say, okay, these are the numbers. What are we going to do about it?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great example. I think that so many business owners avoid numbers because of the story and meaning they give to it, and they don't look at it as data, neutral, no meaning, right? That was a great example.
I just wanted everybody to have that.
Yeah, that was, thank you so much for that tool. Thank you for, explaining it so clearly of what's happening in our minds when we're creating meaning, and that we have control over that, that we can change that for ourselves. You have a book. I would love for you to share about your book, Hitting the Wall, and what that might be. If someone wanted to read it, what would they get out of it?
Yeah. So somebody heard me speak. He's a serial entrepreneur. And he came over to me in Costa Rica and said, we have to write a book. That's the missing piece. So my clients don't listen to me because he works with entrepreneurs and he's an attorney. And he said, I tell them what to do with their businesses and they don't listen. It's beliefs. So we wrote this book and we break it down, the processes in the book, and we break it down by entrepreneurial patterns. So there's the specific beliefs under procrastination, the specific beliefs under workaholism, all the patterns that we talked about. And it will walk you through the process. It'll tell you exactly what the beliefs are for all these different patterns. And the last chapter, which is my favorite, which is the Hans chapter, he talks about being a conscious entrepreneur and what that looks like and what that means. He has all different ethnic backgrounds for his employees. He pays for them to do personal growth work. Everybody is treated with dignity and respect. He himself is a philanthropist and climbs Kilimanjaro, and goes to countries and works with, children. And he is, I'll tell you the best story about my co-author. I tried to call him one weekend and he didn't answer the phone. And on Monday, I said to him, well, what did you do all weekend that you didn't answer your phone? And he said, oh, I had a device-free weekend to spend with my daughter. Was at the time 9 years old. And that's when I fell in love.
That is amazing. So being very, very intentional and how that can show up in our businesses. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that story. I actually have not read the book yet, but I actually really want to read the book. So I'm going to go buy the book right now. This is something that is truly a gift that you can give yourself, but you are giving to the world. Your co-author is giving to the world to really give the tools to somebody that. What a great title, Hitting the Wall. I said that earlier in the conversation and didn't even realize the connection of like hitting that same ceiling in revenue, of like banging your head against the wall. So thank you so much. And we'll link out to where you can get the book and to get your resource on eliminating beliefs, and they can follow you. We'll share all that in the show notes.
Thanks, Amber. Thanks for helping people with small businesses. What a great service you are doing for people.
Thank you so much, Shelly. Thank you so much for tuning into the Small Business Straight Talk podcast. No change, no change. Without taking action, nothing will change for you or your business. So based on my conversation with Shelly today, what is an action step that you can commit to taking today, tomorrow, this week, but most immediately in your business to make a difference? As a reminder, if you have not already done so, be sure to go take my Next Level Business Owner quiz. This short 3-minute quiz will uncover what is most challenging you in your business from taking it to the next level. To find out what that is and get a curated playlist with solutions, head on over to amberdelagarza.com/quiz. Again, take the 3-minute quiz today over at amberdelagarza.com/quiz. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss another episode. And if you've been here for a while, be sure to share this episode with a fellow business owner who you think would find it valuable. So that's my straight talk for today. Until next time, have a productive week.